talked to him since. He's going to do well.
Yeah.
We are live.
All right, y'all, we're live and I'm about to do the introduction here in about less than 60 seconds. All right, good morning and welcome to the AlabamaWorks webinar series, a monthly webinar designed to provide information and speakers related to the workforce in Alabama. Past webinars are available on the AlabamaWorks website at alabamaworks.com. And now your host, Tim McCartney.
Good morning. Welcome to the July 10th, 2023 Alabama Workforce Council monthly webinar. We have a really good lineup today of speakers, so get ready to sit back, listen, and learn. We'll start off this morning with a labor market report from Mr. Nick Moore, who is the Director of the Governor's Office of Education and Workforce Transformation. Following Nick, we have Miller Gervin, who is Executive Vice President of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, commonly referred to as EDPA. She will provide an update on trending issues in economic and talent development. Following Miller, we will have Mr. Keith Phillips, Vice Chancellor of the Alabama Community College System. Keith will provide an update on Alabama Technical Network, ATN, and the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, referred to as MEP. Following Keith is my friend, Mr. Chris Crumbley from Huntsville, Alabama. Chris is the CEO for the Institute for Digital Enterprise Advancement. He will be giving us details about digital engineering education and workforce development. And to close us out today, we'll have Mr. Robert Burns, Vice President of Human Resources and Administration with Hyundai. He will talk about challenges and innovative solutions in manufacturing. So to get us started, Nick, take the floor.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll go over a little bit of a labor market update for this summer. And our unemployment rate continues to be at a historic low of 2.2%. And our labor force participation rate continues to hover around 57% or 56.9% exactly. And we are, other than, of course, Mississippi, one of the lower ones on labor, and South Carolina, one of the lower states in the region on labor force participation and nationally. And that continues to be one of our main focuses, is trying to make sure that we're getting more people to participate in the labor force. And when we're in a period of near full employment like we're in now, we really have to focus on that as the primary labor market indicator for the health of our workforce, because when you have a situation where you've got more open jobs and you have people that are unemployed, looking at the unemployment rate is really not a good indicator as to the health of the labor market. So looking at labor force participation rate really should be what workforce developers, economic developers are focused on. And that also helps us to better connect the inputs and activities that we're doing with some outcome, which would be an increase in that labor force participation rate. 1 percentage point increase in the labor force participation rate's about 23,000 people. And if we could get back up to just where we were in the mid-90s, we would have an additional 130,000 people or so working. And as we like to say, we're working to not just admire this problem, but to take action on it. So as part of our 2024 combined planning process for a public workforce system, we're going to be reimagining the way that the public workforce system addresses this issue through technology, leadership, and policy. Make sure that we are, for example, spending more money on training and less on overhead, that we are cross-training all the folks that are working in various agencies so that no matter what point of entry that somebody that's not in the labor force comes into, that they get the same outcomes not based on what agency they happen to be interfacing with. And then using technology so that we can take paper and pencil and analog and in many cases anachronistic intake policies and processes and update those for the 21st century using things like the Alabama Talent Triad, the Alex system that's been developed, and the David tool developed by the Atlanta Fed. And so the State Workforce Board has taken action beginning with the meeting 2 weeks ago to where now the David tool will be used in our career centers to make sure that people understand what are the benefits cliffs they'll be facing as they enter the workforce. And then when will they be made whole in paid employment. That's key so that people are able to persist in training in the workforce when they enter it. And so just taking a look at a little bit more at our numbers here, this is our regional snapshot and for our labor force participation. There's some variation between regions, and you can see that it's kind of a big delta between, for example, the 53% in Region 6 versus the 60% in Region 1. So we also know that as we're addressing this, not only we got to look at the shadow labor force and the people within each of our special populations and what barriers they're facing, but also regionally so that we got a place-based strategy with the industries in each region, make sure that we've got talent pipelines connecting students in K-12 and then people that are disconnected. And I may have mentioned last time that Alabama has the highest rate of out of school and disconnected youth in the country at 18%. And we also have a very low prime age male labor force participation rate. So when it comes to disconnected youth and particularly disconnected young men, we've got to have a special emphasis on making sure we're working to connecting those young men to opportunity. The opportunities are there. Where we're missing is making sure that they've got the career exploration and awareness and soft skill and employability training to be able to connect with those opportunities. And this gives us just a little bit more labor force participation rate by county. And this is something that the Department of Labor has put out recently that we're glad to see so that we can hone in down at the county level and see what our county level labor force participation is. And this is kind of the point I was making earlier about a situation to where you've got more jobs open than you have unemployed people. So if you look in May, we've got 126,346 online job ads, and there's a lot more of them out there when you're accounting for those that are not on the internet or online or known. And there are a lot of those out there in the economy. And we got 51,445 people that are unemployed officially. So when you've got basically 3 times more job ads open than you have unemployed people, what does it really mean to say you've got a 2.2% unemployment rate? You've really got a negative unemployment rate, right? Because there's more people, there's more jobs than there are people to fill the jobs. So that's why labor force participation is the key metric to be looking at. We've got to get people off the sidelines, growing the base of our economy. And that has to be the litmus test for our workforce training programs and our education training providers. We just can't put our employers in a position to where they're left to poach it from each other and putting individuals in a position to where they don't understand the connection between the credentials they're earning and the labor market return they would get there. So we've got to have education training helping to support our employers so that they can help to upskill employees, grow your own model, so that we get more people being able to stay with their employer and then also earn a self-sufficient wage. Looking at our unemployment rate, you can see that again, that is trending way down. That's good. Labor force participation, not so much. That's basically, this is historic going back over to the 60s. And then if I were to put this up by male and female labor force participation is going up, 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 which is great. Male down, 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 which is bad. So we got to figure out what's going on with our men and to make sure that they're staying in the labor force. So turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for letting me join you today.
Well, thanks, Nick. Those labor reports are always very interesting and got a lot of information. It took a while for me to wrap my head around the labor force participation rate back when we started using. I mean, I know it's been around a long time, but it wasn't the common metric. So I hope everybody listening understands and does a little more look into that. Next, we have Miller Gervin from the EDPA. Miller, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. And thank you all for letting me join today. I'm going to share my screen and we'll be off to the races. All right. So as mentioned, I'm Miller Gervin. I work on the innovation and talent pillars for the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, which is affectionately known as the EDPA. And again, thank you for inviting me to be here this morning. In terms of the trends that we are seeing, that certainly reflects what Nick was just talking about. Labor force participation is a major problem. We all see those same numbers that Nick presented, and we know that also represents thousands and hundreds of thousands, as you heard, of potential employees that are already in Alabama for companies that might be either expanding operations here or considering moving their operation or headquarters here. So definitely something we want to focus on increasing those labor participation numbers. And I'm really glad to see, as Nick just said, the number of women moving up. I think a lot of that is due to some of the socioeconomic issues like childcare that folks are tackling. I know transportation is another big one that a number of organizations are trying to work on, and certainly without changes in those elements, it will be hard to see meaningful changes in our participation rates. But one thing that we have been working on at EDPA, and Nick referenced it, is ALEX. And we are really trying to fill the top of the funnel in terms of labor force. And a lot of those disconnected youth, that's a lot of the audience that we would love to see come through the ALEX trailer. So when I say the ALEX trailer, for those who may not be familiar, it stands for the Alabama Experience, meant to sort of personify that. And it is a 53-foot interactive mobile unit that is going to be going to each workforce region around the state of Alabama and highlighting job opportunities, educational tracks for those jobs, and cost of living, quality of life where those jobs are located. So we all know that in Alabama, we have a great story to tell about all of those elements. And we're really excited to see the enthusiasm around ALEX. So I know our team, the ALEX team, is working hard to find great events around the state to come showcase those job opportunities and really get a strong population coming through the trailer, getting people more aware. And so here's a quick just roadshow schedules, just some hypotheticals as well as some that have already been completed. And there will certainly be a lot of a lot of events added to this over the coming months, but they want to make sure that they are working with each of the workforce regions to reach populations that need to see that mobile unit. So excited about that. And the other trend that we are seeing is in the decisions of our higher ed graduates. They are unfortunately leaving Alabama and starting their careers in other cities and other states, especially around the Southeast. And you've probably all seen this, but several years ago, Forbes ranked Alabama 47th in the country at retaining our students. And especially we were pretty rough on the out-of-state students. And the numbers were that less than 20% of our out-of-state graduates end up staying in Alabama after they go through our institutions. So I do believe that over the last several years, those numbers have started to see some improvement, but we do spend a lot of public dollars getting our students both in and out of state educated at our universities. And we do need to make sure that they are aware of the opportunities that exist for them professionally when they graduate. So over the last couple of years, ADPA and we have been working in partnership on the research side with the Alabama Commission on Higher Education to determine what the students think, why they think that, when they make their decisions, what they're looking for. And we did discover that a lot of their hesitation around staying in the state of Alabama was simply a lack of awareness. They didn't think the jobs existed for them. So what we did after that research was we created a brand that I hope many of you have seen called Fuel Alabama. And we are really focusing our resources on connecting students with communities in Alabama. That was certainly something that those students said they were looking for after school. They want accessible communities, and we have those all over the state. The appeal of the really big city, especially in this post-COVID world, is waning. And they want opportunities to make an impact on those communities. And of course, they want people in their same stage of life to hang out with and be social with. So we did a pilot program last summer with a bunch of interns, and we've expanded that effort this summer to engage students in communities as they intern across the state. So you can see our 2023 summer community partners, and that is a partnership also with Innovate Alabama. Their talent retention is a huge pillar for Innovate Alabama. So this is right in line with what we're all trying to accomplish. But in each of those communities, we are working with folks at chambers, at local EDOs, at universities, to make sure that interns who are working in those cities, in those counties, whether they are from out of state, in state, most of them are going to school in Alabama, some are not. But we want to make sure that they see not only the professional opportunities that they're working on day to day, but they also see the quality of life that Alabama affords. So you can see here, these are just a few of the events that will be offered to those interns this summer. They will have learn, socialize, and serve, really to try and wrap that full picture of engagement in a community and let them be exposed to that. So you can see a few of those that are going on around the state of Alabama. And the goal is to engage at least 250 interns. And through the early numbers that we've seen and the surveys that each of those interns is being asked to take, I imagine we'll see a lot more than that in terms of engagement. So then the other piece that we are working on, in addition to engaging those interns in the communities where they are, is that we know the idea of getting them together and creating a shared experience, a cohort experience, is really impactful. So ADPA is sponsoring what we're calling summits. And the first one will be 2 weeks from, a week and a half from now, starting July 21st, and will be a weekend trip to the Shoals. And it's just an opportunity to meet people from all over the state. So we have about 35 interns from all over Alabama that will be coming with us. We will do an all expense paid, really primarily social and fun trip for them, but it's an opportunity for them to get together with each other, see a region of the state that they may not have seen before, get to know something about the industry of that state, of that area, and then certainly the fun parts. So it happens to be the Handy Fest, and in the Shoals, music is pretty strong. So we're going to be seeing a lot of the music scene up in the Shoals, as well as a lot of the great arts and fashion culture, as well as industry up there. So we'll do that again in the fall with 35 to 40 interns. We're targeting the Wiregrass for that. And then probably January, February timeframe, and then April to do a spring. So really just try and get them engaged with each other and with the state. So this is a quick overview of our agenda for the trip coming up in the Shoals. And it's turning out it's going to be a really great trip, and we're excited about it. So I'm sure everybody would love to know, how are we tracking our metrics? As I mentioned, we are conducting surveys for those interns across the state, and then we will also follow up with them after they go through the summer and try and understand just what they thought, what impacted them, how they're continuing to make their decisions of where they land after college. So hopefully we'll get some good data on that and be able to shape our programming going forward. So that, I will say, here are the contact for anybody that's interested. Here are the folks that we are working with across those 9 communities this summer. If you know of interns that are not doing any of the fuel activities, please encourage them to do so. There's still a lot of summer left and a lot of activities left. So here's contact information for those folks. And I know they would love to have more people involved in their efforts. So that is it for me. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Miller. That was great information to have. So hopefully everybody will contact you and with these additional interns y'all might have missed. Keith Phillips from the Alabama Community College System is up next. So Keith, you have the floor.
Thank you, Tim. Just a moment here to share my screen. Oops, sorry, guys. Jerry, I may have to let you pull it up and share it because it is,
If you need,
hold on one second. I think I've got it now. Can everyone see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, hey, good morning, Tim. Thank you for that and the opportunity for me to present to AlabamaWorks on this webinar. A little bit about the Alabama Technology Network. We have been around for quite some time. If you go back into history, the Alabama Technology Network was really established in 1987 with 5 sites around the state. And back then they were considered centers of excellence, if you will. And we've evolved over time, as you can see, from 1987 to 1996, becoming a 501c3. And then eventually in 2004, we became part of the Alabama Community College System. You know, I would tell everyone, don't get so hung up on locations, but we have a lot of host colleges where our staff call home, if you will, in terms of an office space. We've got an affiliation with 3 universities, but what I would tell you, what's most important is that if you look at the distribution of our resources, and our resources would be our people, we have a staff of 55 individuals all around the state. 34 of those individuals come from mostly are engineers, but they are our project engineers that deliver project work all around the state. And collectively, those 34 individuals has got over 500 years worth of industry experience. So a very talented group of individuals who conduct project work with manufacturers. So I mentioned manufacturer. Alabama Technology Network is Alabama's manufacturing extension partner, and we're part of a national network. If you look at that national network, every state has one MEP. Obviously, ATN is Alabama's. Our specialty is working with manufacturers. I heard Nick talk earlier about the importance of upskilling your incumbent workers. That's exactly what we do. We work with manufacturers all around the state. with the intent that we will go in and upskill their existing employees. And we do that in several different areas, which I'll get to. But what's unique about this national network is a couple of things. One is if there's a need in Alabama that we don't have, then we've got a network of other organizations that we can pull on. For instance, one time we needed some training on hot dip galvanized training. So there was a company who was going to start dipping their own galvanized components, and we didn't have that. So we reached out and we were able to connect with our MEP partner or colleague, if you will, in Oklahoma, and found that expertise, and we're able to bring those individuals to Alabama to help provide that training. If you look at the bordering states, we work closely with Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, Arkansas. All of those kind of are some good partnerships we have. The New Jersey MEP is actually one where we partnered with. We brought food industry as an expertise to the state. So let me move on here. This kind of gives you an idea of the number of projects that we complete every year or work on every year. You can see there in calendar year 2022 by the different regions. Those were projects that we engaged with clients. We call them contracts. And we work with 187 unique manufacturers throughout the state, which is usually we're around 200 manufacturers every year in terms of engagement, and usually between 300 and 400 different contracts. So why am I showing the economic impacts from Q1 of 2015 through Q4 of 2022? That's important to us because ATN, with its federal grant through the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, it's a 10-year grant. So we've been tracking these numbers, and these numbers aren't Keith's numbers. They're not ATN's numbers. These are actually numbers that our clients report through an independent survey. And I think these are the numbers that mean the most for us. These are our performance metrics, and we're trying to always make sure that when we meet with a company on the very front end, most times companies aren't training for the sake of training. They're training for a purpose, and we want to know what that purpose is so that we can develop our training to meet that need. And where that really pays off is whenever we complete the training, there's an independent accounting firm that's going to contact the client and ask them questions. Did it create new jobs? Did you retain jobs? Did you have increased sales or retained sales? Did you invest in people, plant, and process? Did you have cost savings? So you can see it kind of from 2015 through 2022, what our total impacts are, about 17,000 jobs, new or retained, and then $3.6 billion in client impacts, which for our folks who deliver this is kind of like our bragging board. We're very proud of these numbers, but most importantly, we know this has real impact on manufacturing in Alabama. So if I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the solutions we provide, we kind of divide our staff up into different teams. And you can see there the continual improvement team, the environmental health and safety team, food industry, which is kind of a new team for us, industrial maintenance and technology, leadership management and development is our last team. So we've got 5 different teams. Some folks will cross over to different teams, but really, I think the conversation has been about advanced manufacturing in the state, and we specialize in working with small and medium-sized manufacturers. And the reason we focus on small and medium is, if you want to look at sustaining those size entities in the state, a lot of time they are the tier 2, tier 3 providers for the automotives or others. So we need to make sure that we're providing opportunities for those individuals to get the training that they need to upskill their employees, but also opportunities for technology acceleration, automation, things like that, so that those companies can stay competitive. Under each one of these categories here, you'll see a list of a few of the courses or trainings that we offer. Continual improvement. One of the things that we do is a lot of ISO implementation, and ATN is an ISO 9001 company. So we follow our own policies and procedures, our own protocol, if you will, so that we kind of felt like if we were going to do ISO implementations and audits, we should be an ISO organization. So we've had an ISO designation for some time. Environmental health and safety, most every company will tell you safety comes first. We do a lot of training around the state, and you can see some of those offerings there. Food, like I said earlier, is new, but if you look around the state, the food industry is a large manufacturing base that is growing. So we've brought a subject matter expert in, and who's helping us get food and industry off the ground. If you look at advanced manufacturing, the industrial maintenance and technology, the things that we do there have a great impact on upskilling those individuals so that our companies can stay competitive. If you look at, we do a lot of PLCs, robotics, pneumatics, hydraulics, chain drives, mechanical drives, electrical drives, anything to do with automation. We do some CNC, if you see there on that list. So a good bit of training there. And then lastly, leadership management development has been huge. We have seen an opportunity where a lot of individuals who have been great production workers who've done well on the production line move up into some supervisory roles and management roles. So we've done a lot of training to help those individuals transition over into those leadership roles. The last thing I would tell you is take a look at our website. If you go to www.atn.org/solutions, you'll see all of these particular teams. But if you drill down into each one of those, you'll find a real comprehensive listing of the courses that we have available to offer Alabama manufacturers. One of the last things I want to talk about is something that we have just launched, and it is for manufacturers, but it's a supply chain database. And what we really saw during the pandemic was the critical shortage of manufacturing needs throughout the state. A lot of things that we were looking at that were provided from overseas. Hopefully we're going to see an opportunity to onshore some of that manufacturing, but there was no database, no one single source national database for manufacturers to connect with. So obviously Connects Alabama was our effort to put together this national database for manufacturing. So what's it all about? If you look at it, it's kind of to help build those connections for our industry here in the state with other industries in the state, but also within the nation. Create a fast and efficient search model. If you were to go into Connect's marketplace, it's like a Google search engine. And what's for a company who signs on and creates an account there, the way they build their account helps them, one, be identified by others who might need their services. You build your account profile based on your capability statement, your processes, your equipment. If you work with any special materials, polymers, things like that, you would want to build that in, but you really build a profile that helps you be searched and found nationally and obviously statewide. So what's in it? Why would a small or medium-sized company want to sign up and be on this database? And you can see there quickly to help build contacts on some of our small businesses. And we actually have had a few, Tim, on our Alabama Workforce Council that I spoke with who signed up as early adopters on this because they needed to outsource some of their machining. So they were able to build some connections in other parts of the country. But you can see there's some of the reasons why. But what's unique about the database is the ability for you to respond to RFPs, RFIs, RFQs, and you respond within the database itself, and it tracks all of your communications. And you can, it's basically a platform. We've seen it. We've just finished our launch, I guess you would call it launch, through July the 8th, where we were offering free for life. The good news is if a manufacturer didn't sign up for the free for life portion of it, national access is only $500 a year. So if you spend, two people spend a half a day on Google trying to find a supplier for you, you've spent $500. But for Alabama manufacturers, you can connect and build your account online and have free access to any other manufacturer in Alabama. So we've been pushing this pretty hard for the last couple of months, and we'll continue to push it as a resource. And you can see a little bit about how it works there. And again, I would direct you to our website at atn.org/connects-Alabama. A lot of information that's on that website. But again, we are going to keep this database in terms of those who apply and gain access to it entirely focused on manufacturing, so that it's a true manufacturing database network, and they are able to communicate. So we want to protect the integrity of it. So it's made for manufacturers, and we'll validate that based on NAICS code. So Tim, any questions?
Not for me, sir. I appreciate that. That's great information to have. We appreciate all that you and community colleges and ATN do for the state of Alabama. So thanks a lot, Keith. We appreciate it. We'll have you back soon.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Next, we have Chris Crumbly, who's CEO for the Institute for Digital Enterprise Advancements, or IDEA. I can tell, Chris, you may be collaborating with Nick, the king of acronyms. So anyway, Chris, the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, very good. And as I share my screen and get everything up here, we'll let you know I brought a couple of colleagues with me. Holly and Annie are here in the office with me, and will keep me on time and be sure that I'm saying the right things and doing the right things. So to get this up to full screen.
No, don't worry, you got plenty of time, so take your time.
All right, is everything is it sharing? It's up on my screen.
Don't see it yet.
Don't see it? Okay, let me stop and try it again. You can tell I'm a manager. I use a Mac. So that was the sign at NASA when I was there. Let's try this again.
Here we go. Yeah, it's showing now, Chris.
All right, very good. So I am the executive director for IDEA, and you see System Engineering Technology Academy. One of the ways that we have decided we need to work with other schools is to create an academy to deploy our curriculum. And we started out looking at an associate's degree, and we found out pretty quickly, as an engineer that has moved into academics, we found out we really were working on workforce development. So I appreciate the invitation to come today and to talk with a lot of my colleagues here. And when I talk about model-based system engineering, a lot of times I get some blank stares. So I've decided I want to show you a little bit about what is model-based system engineering and why am I so positive on this, and try to relate this to our advanced manufacturing. When you're a system engineer, and I know that some disciplines, some areas, sectors don't really use system engineering as a particular skill mix, but you probably do have somebody that's been around 20, 25, 30 years that knows everything about your system and how that works. And that's really about system engineering. But what we do is we end up with all these different people with engineering disciplines, operations, analysts, and they all have their own little tools. And then it's, unfortunately, we're all supposed to be trying to communicate with each other. And we end up just piling up the system engineer with a bunch of documents. And if it's not paper documents, it's probably PDF documents, because everybody does their own thing, then they PDF it and they send it out. And then we present it in the aerospace and defense world. We have a big room with a bunch of people, and we present it on PowerPoint charts. Really what we're trying to do is get everybody linked in to a model to where if you need to know your loads, your environments, your operations, your timelines, everything is located in a model, and it's operated on this system this coding language called SysML. And the SysML language is object oriented, so you can get all of that information out, and you can also put the information in, so everybody is on the same page. And what that ends up doing is it gets rid of all that paper and those PDFs. It gets rid of the big presentations, and it does what system engineers are supposed to do, and that is communicate. And it allows us to really look at, what does the product satisfy the customer? Can we optimize the system? So instead of 15 documents and different revisions, everything's in the model, and you can actually work through your gate reviews on the way. I am a retired NASA project manager, so I can tell you what I'm about to show you is absolutely true, and is true for COOs, CFOs, CEOs, project managers. But when you have a system that can help you either lower your cost or at least keep your costs consistent and under budget, you look at it. When you can look at something that keeps you on time, on schedule, you look at it. And when you can find something that brings in cost, time, scope all together, that brings you quality, then you want to look at it. If it doesn't do any of those things, I can tell you as a project manager, I don't want it. And so what we have found is this system of bringing everything into the model really does improve quality by maintaining cost and technical and being able to increase scope or keep the scope where it needs to be when it's applied appropriately. So it's something that we're trying to bring in. What is a SysML model? Okay, this is kind of a silly one, but a system is a mountain. Okay, and if you're as old as me, you watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind. A model is a statue of that mountain. So you see Richard Dreyfuss there. A diagram is a picture of the statue taken from any angle, and a view is a multiple of those pictures. So when you talk about model-based system engineering, you're going to hear all this language. But what is it? This is what really the system is. You've got a SysML diagram. You have a Cameo modeler tool, which Cameo is one of several tools that uses the program. And then you have these diagram panes that show everything, but it all goes back to this palette of how you use things. And then this containment tree, which is like a big work breakdown structure to take your very complex system into something. What I'm going to tell you about is how we teach in the community college how to do this for very complex systems. And these modelers are coming out being able to do this without going through calculus, without going through physics, being able to get out in 2 years and make a very good salary. And that's what we're after with this associate's degree. How does this work on a real project? Well, let's just say that we're trying to solve a new problem. We're looking for a new way to do search and rescue. And we're looking at using our canines to do that. So what kind of data do we have? So we know we've got a problem. Hey, here's a possible solution. So we're going to use the best sensor that we know, which is that dog's nose right in the middle. And we're going to try to find out how can we help this with the search analysis of the search and rescue, bring that information back to that little backpack on the dog, run it up to a satellite, back down to the folks that need the data. So then you need to find out what do you need to do. And so I've gone through 3 questions that model-based system engineering works. So define the format of the model. Okay, maybe you need this in some kind of database that people can look at when they're looking. Maybe you need a map so that your first responders can go find that canine who has found the target that you're looking for. Timmy has found in a well, Lassie has found him. Where's the well? So now I need to go find it. And then how do I get all that back in, and where does that model work? And then how do I deploy all of these assets? And then how does this all work into a simulation? So all this nonsense all gets put together into something creative that we go from an idea to a whiteboard to a model, because I can start figuring out all these things that I need. Do I need requirements first? Do I need to figure out what the dogs can do? What are my capabilities? What are the targets? The model helps us create all that in a hurry. So advanced manufacturing, industry 4.0. You're also going to hear industry 5.0. It's the interconnectivity of all these things, but none of it happens without model-based system engineering on the bottom of it. Here's the real problem. I've been tracking this since we started this program in April of 21. We went from, on Indeed.com, just in Huntsville, over 400 jobs advertised in this area. There are now over 850 jobs advertised in this area. And in all of our schools across Alabama that confer system engineering degrees, 163 graduates in bachelor's and master's programs across all of Alabama. That's all we graduated. And we're not even teaching model-based system engineering in those curricula. So what we did is we created a curricula that would lay on top of computer information systems, because this is a degree that has some things that we like in it. And we created 6 brand new courses. We created Introduction to System Engineering, Systems Modeling 1, 2, and 3, because we're really looking at applied. How do we bring these folks into an applied system? This is not at its last point of view. So we're also bringing in MBSE into the digital environment. What new tools are coming out? And then we do something a little unusual in the community college. We do a capstone. We talk to a technology provider in the town where we're teaching, and we say, give us a real life example, and we're going to have these students go out and do it. I'm really proud of this. In August of 21, we started this about 9 months after we got the grant from the DoD. We had 35 students in the middle of COVID. 35 students signed up for this class. Up on the upper left, those students, we graduated 11 this past May. Some are still matriculating through. And those 11 students, all but one of them have jobs ranging from $60,000 to $75,000 a year after a 2-year degree. We're very proud of that here in Calhoun Community College. We're opening that up in Wallace State in the fall. We're opening up at Drake State the next fall, and we're looking across the country, but Alabama is the lead. With Alabama and where we are with advanced manufacturing, digital manufacturing is coming. Moving these technologists into the small to medium manufacturers is going to help our supply chain across the state. We really are poised to do this in a way that helps those students that don't think they can be engineers, but they want to be in the STEM field. They can move into this very quickly. And we teach it in several modalities: professional engineering, the associate's degree. We're moving into the high schools. We're moving downstream into the universities to create these electives that they don't have yet. And we're going to create our own credential. We're working with Nick Moore and some of his folks on the Talent Triad because we saw that there wasn't a competency in there, that we wanted to create one that would bring these modelers together. So just in some of our students, let me show you what we've done. Here's a non-traditional student, a Master of Psychology degree. She saw our brochure. She said, you know what? I think I want to reskill. I want to go do something. She has been working for Boeing since the summer of last year, and they've hired her full time through a small company here in town. Then we had this young man who had spent some time at UAH, really hadn't found his way, saw our brochure and said, you know what? I think I want to try this. He became one of our best modelers, and he said, I like this so much. I now can go and become an engineer. He's now moved to Auburn. He's going to start his industrial and system engineering degree, and says he's going to go all the way to becoming a master's. I'm going to skip the video because I don't want to take up any of Robert's time, but I just appreciate the opportunity to talk about this because this is a brand new skill set. We're excited about it, as you can probably tell, and we're trying to move this from aerospace and defense across to marine engineering. I appreciate what Keith said about food processing, food manufacturing, because then medical manufacturing is just a tiny step beyond the food manufacturing, automotive manufacturing, plant building. There's a lot of things that can be done. It's just a matter of, is it important for that sector at this time? So I appreciate the time, and I hope I didn't go over, and I leave Robert his time for going forward. But thanks a lot, Tim.
Chris, that's great information. That's sound like you're moving fast. And I know you and I talked about this probably right at the beginning when we were down in the meeting in Auburn. That's great to see the progress you're making, and look forward to helping you in any way we can. That's the type of payback we need to get. You're getting some good results. So thanks, Chris. We appreciate it. Oh, and by the way, your little example of the close encounters of the third kind using Richard Dreyfuss. Next time you can use a local Alabamian, the kid that, or the man that was a kid during that played the little son of Richard in the movie, is in Birmingham. And so he's, believe it or not, he's one of the original Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I claim that he actually was in E.T., which he wasn't, because tell him he didn't even have to have any makeup for that. But that's another story, a different time. So thanks again.
All right.
Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, Tim.
Our final speaker today is Mr. Robert Burns of Hyundai. Mr. Burns, you ready?
I'm ready. I'll go ahead and get ready to share my screen here. Hopefully everything will work out just fine. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. So what I wanted to do for the benefit of everyone watching is just give a quick overview of Hyundai Motor Manufacturing Alabama. To start with, we are a complete automotive assembly operation with everything from weld shop, stamping, paint, general assembly, and engine shops as well, and our own test track. So, and we have to have a lot of folks to be able to support all this operation. And so when we look at the facility as a whole, we produce basically about 368,000 vehicles is what our schedule is for this year. And you can see the mix with our Tucson, Santa Fe, Santa Cruz, GV70, which is brand new for us this year. That is an electrified version as well as an internal combustion engine version of that vehicle. So our team members are now building a luxury or premium brand of Genesis SUVs for the US and Canadian markets. and of course the Elantra. Now Elantra is going to actually go away because we need to make room for all these SUVs because that's the popular mix for the consumer in the U.S. market and abroad. But also, as I mentioned, we need a lot of team members to support this operation. So let you know that we have over 3,800 full-time team members at HMMA, and we have about 250 temps. But you can see in the scope here, the 93 manager above, 614 assistant managers or specialists for about 707 salaried staff. Our maintenance team represents about 183, and our production group, almost 3,000 full-time production team members assembling the vehicles. And you see the mix on our demographics on the males, 66%, female 34%, and the average age is 42. Our team member population really reflects the region in which we live in, because this is almost consistent with the Montgomery area in the sense of African-American population is almost 68%, and then Caucasian about 26% in the balance from there. So that gives you a pretty good idea of what our team member population looks like at HMMA. But what I want to focus on is what we've had to deal with since COVID. I know my fellow OEMs across the state have had to deal with the same situation in the sense of attrition and hiring. During COVID, we saw a significant drop in the number of people actually applying for positions, and that's really impacted our business. And we had to really think differently because HMMA is a premier employer in the Montgomery and River region, but people weren't applying like we're used to. Yes, we're using temp services as a funnel for us, but in reality, that wasn't fulfilling the needs. So we had to really change our mindset. If you look at the chart here on the right-hand side, you see what our attrition and or trend was between during the initial steps of the COVID, and in 21, you saw it jump up on the salary side, 13.5, hourly 12.8. And then 2022, it was essentially the same, a little bit of a dip on the salary side, but we've seen an improvement in 2023. And I'm going to kind of hint on how we got to that. Because you look at our overall hiring here on the left-hand side, 366 people have already been hired this year, and we already lost 225. It's really finding individuals who want to have really a career in the automotive industry, and the job is not easy. And we do our best working with the IDT to try to set expectation what those jobs will be like. But that attrition rate still, again, it's not better, but it's just really still elevated in my mind. We'd like to be around 4% or less. Maintenance team members, we've done good on the hiring. We've had a little bit of attrition. This attrition here is really more around retirements because we've had our facility has been in operations for almost 20 years now. And most of those are attritions related to retirements. But salary, similar to what Miller was touching base on, we are able to hire people, but we lose them, and we lose them either to competitors or they go out of state. So we've really had to try to do things to try to keep that millennium or even Generation Z on board. So we've done a lot of things relative to our overall benefits package to try to attract and retain individuals. We really want to, focus on some of the key things is around our 28 days paid time off, up to even 25 days vacation based on length of service, personal days, 401k savings plans with the typical 4% match. But we also have an additional contribution that can be up to 4% depending on length of service. Of course, all the OEMs offer discounts on vehicles, but tuition assistance is very common as well. But we feel like overall our 93% company paid on health is also a big plus for us. So we feel like that's one way to help retain talent, but we got to keep working hard at it. And something that was really unique for us, again, we're a premier employer, didn't really feel like we needed to go out there and really toot our horn that much. But after COVID, we realized we needed to change the game. So we came up with a marketing campaign. When can you start? Because that's typically when you're talking to somebody and doing interviews, say, hey, well, when can you start? So we did a combination of social media, broadcast television, as well as a couple of other avenues through LinkedIn, et cetera, to be able to support this marketing campaign. I'm going to attempt to show you a video here real quick. If I get it right. And we'll show you one of the clips that we brought.
Robert, it's not showing up on our screen. Sonia, can you help us from the background?
Yeah, Robert, if you can unshare and then try it again, please.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks for letting me know that did not share, and I'll unshare and try again, as you said. So bear with me here as I get it back up on screen, I hope. So bear with me, stop share. I will try to share again. I will go what I believe to the video clips.
I started in stamping, and now I'm a manager.
I started in quality control. Now I'm an improvement engineer.
Started in assembly. Now I'm building our future. I started as an intern.
I started my 401k.
We're hearing but not seeing.
Okay, well, that's all right.
when he was
I
one.
tried and we were
Now
leaving it at
I'm
that.
sending him to college.
That's okay.
So I'll just go back to the main video, which hopefully will come up here in just a second. Let's see. Let me know if you see that. Do you see full screen PowerPoint?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got that.
Anyway, that's all right on the video. It was just kind of a lanyard on that part of this. But the whole idea is we really had to, again, as I said, change our dynamics on how we wanted to market our operations, because typically you would get, thousands of applications on the hourly side as well as even the salary side. But that really changed dramatically during COVID. So we had to go out there and marketing our operation. We do billboard campaigns, et cetera, as well on the same theme. So that was a marketing side. But how are you going to retain talent? You got to have a great place to work. And we had to really change our team member engagement strategy as well. We've had a pretty good track record of communicating with face-to-face meetings and just an overall workplace culture that was built on team building activities, et cetera. But we needed to step it up. So we really did a variety of things in areas of attire, food, space, and health. On the attire side, we actually changed most of our team wear to make it more up-to-date, more attractive, gave team members a wide variety of options, including branded versions of our shirts. Instead of just something that was off-brand, we have Adidas and Nike and Under Armour, and they really love that. And we give them the allowance to make those purchases. We've also went so far as to improve the overall look of our cafeterias and the food selection, really listen to the team members who want to use the cafeteria, but overall space, improved break rooms, and overall atmosphere of the operation. And then we upgraded our medical center, et cetera, and offered personal health care on site for just minor, let's say, illnesses. So they had that instead of having to go off site to be able to do that. But also workforce stabilization was very critical. Trying to improve our overall hiring program with referrals, as well as just trying to do a better job on transitioning temp workers to permanent, to a very structured process. We're also working with local military for separating soldiers. That's through the Skill Bridge program. And then just overall, just in training, I mentioned earlier, working with AIDT to set those expectations higher on what that job will require to be able to.
Uh-oh. Lost him. Sonia, what do you think? Did we lose him permanently?
Yes, he's gone.
Okay. Well, we're right at the end of it was almost good timing. We've got just a couple of minutes left. So I just want to thank all you speakers that were with us today. Sorry for the technical glitches that happens in the world we live in now. We're not perfect on this, but appreciate all y'all's time and all the information. And for those listening in, anybody that has questions for our speakers, please send your questions to the AlabamaWorks.com website. And that's AlabamaWorks.com. And we will get the questions to the speaker and they will get back to you directly. So thanks again for joining us today. This will complete our program for today, and our next meeting will be in August on August 14th, 9 a.m. So in the meantime, be safe and remember to hydrate because it's hot in Alabama. Thanks. Bye, everyone. Appreciate y'all.
Great job,
Thank you.
everybody.
See everyone.
Sure.